Dr. Shannon Irvine here. If we don't know each other, my name is Dr. Shannon Irvine, and I help entrepreneurs tap into the power of their brain and train their thinking so they can transform their business. And I know you are ready to know if your success is inevitable. That's what we're going to be talking about today. I have not had enough coffee, so grab some coffee with me. Let's talk about your success being inevitable and what goes on in the brain when you actually prime that in as a belief and how you can do that. I had a good friend of mine that I read a post in our mastermind this morning, and she had an opportunity. She trains people's teams, and she had an opportunity to go on a really big podcast. And from that podcast, somebody had reached out to her that has a team that has a big following, 30 million, and is really going strong. So she was talking about how that felt this morning. One of the things that we had an opportunity to do together, this mastermind friend and I, was to brain prime with her, was to put her brain and all the others in the mastermind. We were able to put our brains in the future state of our being and start to see that for what it is, what it can be. And here's why that's super important. It's that our brains don't know the difference between what we're seeing around us right now as our current reality. So think about your current reality, your business, your life, what's going on in your bank account, what's going on inside your business, how many clients you have, how many sales you have, all of that. Think about all of that, because that is what is programmed in your subconscious mind that you believe right now. That is the capacity that you believe right now. And that manifests itself out into the world. And how do I know that? Does that sound like woo? No, that's science, because we know now that from neuroscience that 80 to 90% of your daily actions and decisions come from the subconscious part of the brain. And that subconscious part of the brain is what is driving even your thoughts. So we will see in these neural scans, the part of your brain that's your subconscious that now that is active before even your thought is active. So here you are thinking that you're thinking and thinking that you're making decisions, and 80 to 90% of that is coming from an automated place. And it's coming from a place of what you have programmed. Most people don't know they've programmed their subconscious beliefs and that they have 100% control of how they program that. And as adults, we can actually choose what we decide to program into our brains and what we don't. And that's what we're talking about today. Most of us feel like we think it's inevitable, like we can see it, right? We like, if we pause for a moment, if we slow down for a moment, we can say, yeah, I believe, my thinking brain right now believes that success could be inevitable. But here's what we typically don't do as driven, passionate, on fire, hustling entrepreneurs is we don't slow down long enough to actually create that neural network in the brain. And what brain priming did for her and for a lot of other entrepreneurs, and you can do this too, is just started to show your brain, what does inevitable success look like? Because here's the thing. Your thinking brain is your conscious brain, the one we're talking with right now. It is the boss. It gets to decide, you get to decide what you will allow to get repeated so often that it becomes automatic. So a belief is just a thought, which creates an emotion, which gets repeated over time in thoughts and pictures that gets automated in our subconscious because we repeat it so often. So when we repeat something often, then our subconscious says, okay, that is what she believes. I will take that and I will automate it because I don't want her to have to spend the amount of glucose energy that it takes to process 8,000 thoughts per minute. So it's a very efficient system. So and it's interesting because you know this already, like you see athletes using this all the time, right? They're actually seeing themselves in their sports. They see themselves doing it. They see themselves throwing the ball or running the mile or doing the thing. And that is like an accepted normal part of the athletes culture. And the neat thing was I've had an opportunity to do a lot of research in that area. So just learning that once somebody learns this, you really can use it as a massive tool toward your success. Because think about it. Which we know is science now, our subconscious runs 80 to 90% of our day. Should the idea that I want to make sure that what's in my subconscious is what I want, and the things that I don't want in my subconscious, I want to remove. And that's what I get to help entrepreneurs do. Those two things: remove the things that are holding them back, the narratives, the stories, those things that we grew up with that helped us cope but don't serve us as adults growing massive scalable businesses, and to help your brain see what it is that you really want. Because this is what I've learned through my research in neuroscience, that your brain does not know the difference between what is really happening in this day and this time and what you brain prime or vividly imagine. It's not just visualization. It's not just positive affirmations. It's a process of priming where you're bringing all your senses into it and you're truly entering into it. But your brain doesn't know the difference. In fact, I share this a lot. I've had the opportunity to do some research with pianists, some famous research that's gotten published all over the place, has been replicated, but where we have two groups of humanoids, and one group actually sits on the piano and learns scales that have never learned scales before. We've scanned their brains before and after. That group did not have learned knowledge. Once they learned the scales on the physical piano, they moved to their learned knowledge centers. And then we took a group of people that had never learned scales before and just brain primed them. Their fingers never touched the keys. They went into the studio where the pianos are, but they didn't actually touch the keys. They did brain priming. They felt the keys. They sensed their fingers touching them, but they never, ever, ever touched the piano. And again, same thing. The learned knowledge went right to that area of the brain where we have memory. And the craziest thing, and it's been replicated so many times, the people who visualized it, who brain primed it, actually had a more accurate result when we did an actual test on the piano than the people who learned it on the piano. Crazy, right? That's how powerful your brain is, and it's available to you. It's available. So success being inevitable is almost, I would say it's not almost, it's definitely your responsibility to train your brain to think that, to train your brain to believe that. Now, here is the great news. It's a brain priming state. You definitely steady your body and you definitely enter into a calm place. But it's, you're not going to nothingness. You're actually going somewhere. So it's a different than a meditation. But we are reacting. We're like symptom-based entrepreneurs most of the time, kind of like seeing what stimulus comes in and reacting to it. So if you're living from that place, which most of us are, then we are fully operating from a programmed subconscious. And if you haven't done the work around what do I want my money story to be? What do I want to believe about money, and start to prime that into your brain? Or what do I want to believe about success and failure and worth and all those things? If you're still on autopilot on those things, then that is manifesting into your life and business. And what I want you to know is this beautiful system of your brain can be your best and biggest business asset. Like by far your biggest competitive advantage, all of that. Because once you start to show your mind what it is that you truly want, and then get really aware when there's a narrative or a story or a thought that enters in that is in opposition to that, and working through removing those. And that's something I get to do with my clients as well. It's a beautiful thing because our brains are set up in a very systematic way. So sometimes we go around feeling like, gosh, I'm missing a piece of the puzzle and I can't quite figure it out, and it feels outside of us. I will beg to differ. I believe it's right on top of your shoulders. It's literally in your mind. It's what you're thinking and how you have certain things programmed that are holding you back, and you don't have the things programmed that are getting you there, or not completely. So some people will dive into like vision boards or visualization or meditation. And those are all good things. But brain priming kind of brings all the best of all that together with moving into bringing all the senses into it. And if you've ever been an athlete, you've done this because your coaches naturally teach this. But using the idea of sitting down, and I'm going to challenge you today, is to sit down. Have you ever actually, with pen to paper, written out, what is my end result? Like, what am I going for? Not in concept or theory or idea, but literally, where do I want to be sitting? Where do I want to be? Who do I want to be with? What do I want to be feeling? What do I want to be wearing, y'all? What do I want to be drinking? Am I celebrating at a restaurant? Like, what do I want to have as an outcome of a successful business? Because if you don't do that, you're not giving your brain the GPS it needs. It's like getting in the car and turning on the GPS and not setting it for anywhere and hoping that you get somewhere. It's good that you're in the car. It's good that you're doing your business. But if you don't have your mental map, if you don't have a brain primed map of where you're headed, then you have your GPS off. You might set some goals and shoot for those goals. You might do those things, but we want to give our brains like the full picture. So when you set a goal, what does that goal mean for my future? How is that going to play out? What does it look like? What does the house look like? What does it look like? Are you standing on stage? Are you with Oprah? Are you in a small group? How are you feeling? Are you reflecting back what your clients are feeling? All of that is a definition that if you haven't gone through and done that for your life and your business, then you're not giving your brain what it needs to actually see what it is you want and start to automate that. So that's why I want to talk to you about success being inevitable. And do you believe it or not? Now, a belief, as you learned already, is a thought combined with an emotion that becomes a belief because it's repeated over time. And that belief is what gets automated in your subconscious. So you get to choose, are you going to choose the thoughts that are going to create the reality of your success being inevitable? And are you going to define what that looks like for you? So I want to challenge you today to sit down and truly write it out. Who are you with? What are you doing? Who are you being? How are you showing up? What are your clients like? What are they saying to you? Where are you? Are you on a stage? Are you in a small group? Are you doing a live event? Like, are you signing books? What are you doing? Right? Like, detail that out and try it on as if it's already happened and start to ask yourself, because you can't do this if you haven't defined it, right? It's like you're grabbing air. Like, I want to make impact and I want to have a, 7-figure business, but that means nothing. Like, that doesn't mean anything. What is impact? How do you see that looking for you? Because it's different for all of us, right? My fully fleshed out idea of a successful business and life, it's down to what I feel like when I wake up in the morning, what I do, how I get my coffee, like the whole thing, all of it, every single detail. And it allows your brain to kind of live into that, to be there, to sit and look through those eyes and start to ask yourself the questions like, okay, since it's already done, and this is where science and quantum physics is actually proving out science is proving out quantum physics, the idea of your reality being already done in the future and you're just walking to it, right? So as you're giving your brain what it is that it looks like you're in your future, you get to ask that future version of yourself, since it is inevitable, since you're just walking to it, wow, since this is me, how do I need to show up to from this place? How am I showing up from this place? How am I serving from this place? What are my decisions from this place? And writing that down so that you are in the moment when you're on autopilot still, you're able to read it. You're able to record yourself reading it and hear yourself and be in that place every single day. I mean, think about it. Like, you want to be in that place every day so that your brain gets familiar with it and your brain starts to automate it and starts to believe it because you're repeating it so often. And when you repeat that so often and it automates in your brain into subconscious, then that beautiful 80 to 90% starts working for you instead of against you, right? It starts bringing more. And I love this with my clients as we do this work and go deeper in it. Some of my clients will always say, like, this came out of nowhere. Oh my gosh, all of a sudden this opportunity came out and I had nothing to do with it. Yeah, well, that's kind of true and kind of not true because you sat and you really defined it and you told your brain and you showed it what you wanted and you repeated it so often that your brain started to really see it as truth. Brain does not know the difference. So your brain's saying, okay, that's true. That's what she believes. Let me automate that. And more of that started to become allowed in because we have a part of our brain that only allows in what aligns with that subconscious programming. So things will just start coming out of nowhere, opportunities. And it's because you're showing up like the person that already has it done. You're showing up in a way that is different than somebody who is striving, who hopes that it happens, that is hustling, but without the end and living from the end. And so this is, it's a really unique thing when science starts to validate some of the things that are out in culture that are part of the puzzle, but not the full puzzle, like visualization, like vision boards, all good things. But you want to make sure that you're really defining what is that future version of yourself, or you might end up somewhere without that GPS that you didn't want, right? And I don't know about you, but that's not why I am doing what I'm doing with my business. And I'll use words like impact. Impact drives me really big. I have a very big goal of reaching 100 or 1 million entrepreneurs by the end of the year, helping them train their brains and transform their minds so that their businesses can just scale and explode. And my future version of that is already done. So I live from the place that that's done. And how am I showing up for that group of entrepreneurs? How am I serving them? How am I serving myself? How am I showing up for myself? All of those things are different when you lean from the place that it's already done versus leading from the place of what you can see available to you right now. Because all you can see available to you right now is through the lens of your subconscious automatic programming. That if you haven't done any of this work, is this neurocoaching model is something that is I've created and I've taught my clients, and this work is a beautiful thing. And if you haven't done it, then that autopilot is still running the show. And I want you to run the show. You actually really are the creator of your thoughts, and you get to create the thoughts that create the reality. You see a lot of great Instagram quotes out there that says things like, what you believe you will receive. Well, there's a reason for that. And what I'll hear a lot is, oh, Shannon, I've tried all that. Like I've tried, waking up my morning routine and, doing this thing and visualizing it. Nothing came to pass. Look, you've got to build the neural networks in your brain to get it to an automation state. You have to build brick by brick by brick. And most people aren't patient enough to do that. A lot of people, I know this isn't you, but a lot of people want the quick fix, the blue pill to say like, okay, now everything makes sense. I don't have to struggle. I don't have to do anything. And it's super, super easy. But the reality is you might have spent 12, 14, whatever years creating a reality that doesn't serve you, and it protected you when you were young, but is not helping you grow the business and life that you want, right? But in 20 to 67 days, in that range, somewhere in there, depending on how deep it is, you will have the neural networks to actually automate that success. And if success in your mind has moved from a thought outside of yourself to a true belief because you've repeated it so often and you see it so clearly that your brain says, that's what's true, that's what she believes, I will automate it, and it moves to your subconscious, that, my friends, is when success becomes inevitable, because you now go from hoping to believing, and your brain automates that. And that is what starts to take off for you in ways that you could not even imagine, you could not manufacture, you could not fabricate. But it's beautiful because it's the brain you've been given, and it was a gift from you that you've had since the very beginning, since you were born, and you've always had it. That's the thing, right? We're always looking outside of ourselves for the solution. The solution's on top of your shoulders. We gotta train your brain and transform your business through your thinking. And think about it. You can't buy more time, but your brain, if you train it, can create more time. You can't manufacture more money, but your brain, if you train it, can create all the money that you need. All the money that you need. So that's the thing that I want you to hear today, is just that your success is inevitable, and it's inevitable if you believe it is, and you start truly training your brain to bring that inevitability into an automatic subconscious programming that will take you to where you want to go. There's a great book called The Great Pain Deception that I would recommend for you, anybody that's doing with chronic pain. Yeah, a lot of these narratives, these coping mechanisms that get automated in our subconscious before we realize that we can actually train them, can manifest into different things in our physical body, because we are all connected, and that's a whole nother show. So I want to challenge you today, as I'm wrapping up, that you now get to try on, like you're trying on a nice new, t-shirt or outfit or cute dress. Sorry guys, or whatever you guys like to try on. I want you to really challenge yourself today. Give yourself 30 minutes. I think this is worth 30 minutes of your time to do if you actually want the things that you want. Sit down with a pen and paper. Why? Because it's a different part of your brain that you engage. You really want to do this work outside of your head. And write down with as much sensory detail as you can what it looks like once you've gotten to where you want to go. What are you doing? Who are you being? What do you have? What's going on for your clients? Just everything you can think of, even down to what are you getting your coffee in? All of the above. And I would love, nothing makes me happier than to see people diving into brain training. So I would love you to apply this today and just try it on and tell me in the socials at Dr. Shannon Irvine, Facebook or Instagram, tag me and tell me how it feels different. What's different for you once you start to look through that lens for just one day? And imagine, I can't wait to see your responses, but I can't imagine one day you're going to be blown away. And then that will give you kind of the energy to start doing the practice of it. And if you want support around it, because we were like, there's about a mile deep we can go, and I just touched the surface. I just wanted you to know the concept. Absolutely jump over to my tribe and join me over there, where we're training amazing entrepreneurs' brains and transforming their businesses. We've got people from just getting started to millionaire clients who are trying to get to 8 figures. And it's our method, or our commonality, might be business and entrepreneurship and growth, but we are really all trying to be the very best versions of ourselves. And this gift of your brain was given to you as an asset, and I really want you to use it today. So tag me, let me know how that goes, and I cannot wait to see you. All right, that was a wrap. It's been a blast being with you today. Thank you for being a regular listener on the Epic Success Podcast. I cannot wait to see you until next week. We'll see you then. Bye for now.